Tonight we look at the Gupta Waterkloof landing that has exposed the rift between South Africa's former and current public protectors and has left many South Africans wondering if they'll ever know the truth. Now, the Waterkloof Air Force Base is usually preserved for government, official and military landings, but in 2013 it was opened to a private aeroplane carrying about 200 people. They were all guests attending the extravagant wedding at Sun City hosted by the Gupta family. There was a probe then by the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster who cleared the then President Jacob Zuma but implicated the head of state protocol and Lieutenant Colonel Christine Anderson. She went to the public protector complaining she'd been used as a scapegoat. Well, this Wednesday, public protector Busisiwe Mkhwenane confirmed she's closed the investigation. Her predecessor, Thuli Madonsela, has asked why, and the issue may in fact come up at the Zondo Commission into state capture. Following the story very closely is Azarrah Karrim, investigative journalist at News 24, and she joins us in studio now. Welcome, Azarrah.
Thank you for having me.
I think let's take this sequentially. Take us back to the landing first and the subsequent investigation that implicated Christine Anderson. That's where it started.
Okay, well, in 2013, as we all know, a big, massive aircraft carrying about 200 guests landed at Waterkloof military base. This base is only reserved for military use. This plane, however, was carrying guests who were to attend a very extravagant wedding at Sun City. Subsequent to that, there was a big investigation by the JCPS cluster, like you said, and they basically found that while they exonerated President Zuma, former President Zuma, as well as his government ministers, they did implicate the Indian High Commission, the Guptas, and low-ranking officials. Two of those main officials were Lieutenant Colonel Anderson and Ambassador Busisiwe Mkhwenane. Anderson subsequently...
Let's just clarify. So Mkhwenane, I think, was head of protocol at the time. He's now an ambassador.
Yes.
So he was implicated, and Christine Anderson.
Yeah, now he's ambassador in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
He got promoted after that,
which is interesting, because he's the one who pleaded guilty.
Exactly, to all he was the fall guy, basically.
Yeah.
So Anderson went to the public protector and laid a complaint. Sorry.
She complained, saying she was used as a scapegoat. What's happened since then? Apparently, the charges against her were then withdrawn.
Yeah. So there was another investigation that was conducted by SANDF, and at the end of that investigation, they basically withdrew the charges in 2015 against Anderson. Basically, the only person who is left was Mkhwenane, and he pleaded guilty to all charges.
And on what basis is Busisiwe Mkhwenane now saying this matter can be dropped once and for all?
She has basically said that Anderson, the charges were withdrawn anyway.
And she was the complainant?
Yes, and she had retired anyway. And following the investigation, it was found that she was actually treated fairly by the JCPS cluster, and that she was actually given an opportunity to respond to the allegations against her, which was also part of her complaints.
So then why is the previous public protector, Thuli Madonsela, still jumping up and down?
Well, that's interesting, because both Anderson and a DA MP named David Mania lodged a complaint with Thuli Madonsela and her office. Once they lodged the complaint, Thuli Madonsela came back to Mania and said, I'm not going to investigate this part of the incident, but I will investigate so far as Anderson is concerned. So I think from then on it was made very clear that this is only going to be an investigation into Anderson's involvement and how she was treated by the task team. She goes on Radio 702 yesterday and talks to me after that, last night, and says, no, I investigated the entire incident. So in investigating Anderson, they actually investigated everything that happened, and she said they did it very thoroughly. They spoke to high-ranking officials, they spoke to government ministers, and she said it was very, very thorough.
So she says this raises a whole lot of issues because as a nation we were exposed, people entering at one of the protected gates to the nation. We all want to know as South Africans. So, but she didn't make recommendations. She said she couldn't. She left office. Do we have any indication? Did Busisiwe Mkhwenane use the basis, Thuli Madonsela's first investigation and the groundwork that had been done?
Well, that's unclear because nobody's seen the investigation. It was never released. She claims that a report has been released, but in my humble opinion, that's not a report, it's a letter, more like. So nobody really knows what happened in that investigation. Thuli, like you said, never got around to making any recommendations or decisive action in the report.
Where will this all go now? Because the Zondo Commission is talking about looking into it.
So Thuli Madonsela has called on her successor to submit evidence to the Zondo Commission, which I'm sure they will. I spoke to the National Secretary of SANDF, Predecessor, who also said that he has had an interview and has made a statement for the Commission. I think just before I came on here, he also tweeted something that said that they would take it on review to the High Court.
And would Thuli Madonsela herself go and say what she found?
That's unclear. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, because she's the one who
she was the one who did
groundwork.
all the investigations.
Finally, has anyone explained to you, does it seem fishy to you that the fall guy, as you say, Mkhwenane, the guy who said, yes, I allowed a private plane to land, he's been promoted. He's become an ambassador.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. The more, again, just my opinion, you know, the more I look into it, the more it seems like this kind of just investigation, the JCPS cluster was just an investigation to kind of say we're doing something about it.
Yeah.
Nobody was really, like David Mania says, nobody was really held accountable.
And Thuli Madonsela finally has made some suggestions about the former president. What has she said was found in relation to him? The big question was, did he authorize it? Or was his name used? What was his involvement?
So she also brought up those kinds of issues. During the whole 2013 Waterkloof incident, Mkhwenane especially was accused of name dropping the president's name in order to get permission for the Guptas to land. And Thuli Madonsela, brought up these issues of what do we do in cases like that? You know, what should those people be held accountable, and how do we stop name dropping like that happening in the future?
Yeah. All right, let's see if the Zondo Commission can get to the bottom of this all. Thank you very much for that update. News 24 investigative journalist Azarrah Karrim.